Hi, this is Freedom from Condo Planet. I want to welcome you to another episode of our video series on condos for rent in Mississauga. Today I want to talk about something that is dear to all you pet lovers out there, and this is the question of, can you get evicted for having a pet? You know, it's hard enough to find that perfect condo that you've been looking for without a pet. The matter becomes all the more difficult, extremely difficult, when you own a pet. And the reason for these difficulties is because a lot of landlords don't want anything to do with pets living in their properties. Okay? Anyone who owns a pet will find that hard to understand. But usually this sentiment is coming from a landlord that's never owned a pet. And that lack of experience has essentially translated into an uneasiness of them having pets live in their condos. So you have all these pet-phobic landlords out there, afraid of damage being done to their properties, afraid of things like, their hardwood floors being scratched up, their walls getting holes in them, their carpets being full of cat fur or animal fur. Okay? These are concerns, and they can be legitimate concerns. I've seen homes where damage has been done by pets, but I also know that there are a lot of responsible pet owners out there that know how to manage their pets well, and the type of discrimination that they're facing is definitely not fair to those pet owners. Now, the question becomes, can a landlord discriminate against a tenant for having a pet? Well, this really doesn't fall under the Landlord and Tenant Board's jurisdiction. It's outside of it, actually. What we find is it's a human rights question. Okay, and it falls under their domain. But what we do know from the Residential Tenancies Act is that if a pet is living in a property, a landlord cannot just ask for the tenant to be evicted or have the pet removed. They have to have just cause for that. The pet has to be inflicting damage to the unit or disturbing the reasonable enjoyment of other people for a landlord to file for action for that pet to be removed. So there has to be very specific reasons, so we can see that when it comes to the Residential Tenancies Act, it's very much on the side of pet owners. Okay? Another common practice that we find with realtors is, unfortunately, a lot of their landlord clients, those people trying to rent their units out to tenants, are asking their realtors, they're saying, hey, look, I want you to put no pets on that MLS. And that puts the realtor in a bit of an issue because it becomes that whole human rights issue. Can you say no pets? But quite frankly, a lot of the time we see that out there on those MLS listings. And so pet owners, are having a tough time let alone finding the right place, finding places to even view that allow for pets. Now, can you get evicted for having a pet? Definitely not. If you own a pet, there's nothing a landlord can do to get you evicted, other than for the reasons I've already mentioned. Now, with the letter of the law on the pet owner's side, clearly on their side, you would think that pet owners would have an easy time, but it's not the case. The reality is, even though that the law is on their side, there is a stigma and misconception among landlords that creates a real obstacle for renting that all pet owners have to find a way to surmount. We at Condo Planet will do our very best to help you surmount those obstacles. Now, one thing you do have to be aware of, that even though the Residential Tenancies Act is on your side, if you have a pet in terms of already living in the unit, you have to be sure that the Condo Board is on your side, because the Condo Board will override that. If the bylaws of the condo corporation that you're living in say no pets allowed, you could be in trouble. They could file a notice to have that pet removed. So that's where we at Condo Planet can come in and guide you to look at those buildings that are indeed pet friendly, and only focus on those and not waste any time looking at buildings that won't even allow pets. That summarizes what you need to know in terms of whether you can get evicted for having a pet. If you have any further questions, as always, you can reach us here at Condo Planet. Thanks for tuning in. Have yourself a wonderful day.